Discover the touching moment when she served coffee to a hidden billionaire, life-changing reunion in a small-town diner. Every morning, Sarah poured love into each cup of coffee she served at Clara's diner in the heart of Iowa. The diner buzzed with the smell of fresh pastries and the laughter of regulars who felt like family. At 32, juggling 2 young kids and a waitress's salary, Sarah cherished these moments amidst the chaos of her life. Yet, behind her warm smile lay a heart burdened by memories of her estranged father, a man who had left her behind with a fortune but not a trace of love. As she plated a slice of her famous apple pie, she caught the familiar face of Mr. Jensen, the kind old farmer known for his gigantic sunflowers. "You're a miracle worker, Sarah," he chuckled, his eyes sparkling. The warmth in his tone made her heart flutter. It was in these moments, amidst the clinking of forks and the background hum of friendly conversation, that she felt a sense of purpose. But today felt different, an insistent knot twisted in her stomach, an urgent reminder of the matters she had been avoiding. Just as the annual charity event for local veterans approached, her old car wheezed to a halt, stranding her at the worst possible time. Panic surged. Losing this job was not an option. She leaned against the diner's counter, feeling the weight of despair resting atop her shoulders. How could she provide for her kids? Her hand trembled as she picked up a coffee pot to refill a customer's cup, forcing back tears. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just then, he entered, the man in a crisp gray suit, a striking contrast to the diner's casual vibe. Jack was a frequent visitor, always sitting at the far end, hidden away behind a newspaper. But today, something crackled in the air between them. She could see the weight of the world on his shoulders. The thought crossed her mind, what could someone like him understand about the struggles of a single mother? As the diner filled with the comforting chatter of friends, Sarah stole glances at Jack. His eyes softened with compassion as he observed the way she effortlessly juggled her tasks. For a brief moment, hope flickered. Maybe things could change. But just as her heart began to lift, chaos erupted. A tray of dishes smashed to the ground, and Natalie, another waitress, yelped in surprise. In that clamor, Sarah felt her anxiety peak. Every eye turned her way, the weight of judgment pressing down. As she took a deep breath, Jack's calm voice pierced through the noise, offering to help. He stepped in, collecting the shards and mopping the floor with an unexpected gentleness. For a heartbeat, time stretched, and Sarah felt her walls crumble, the vulnerability of the moment wrapping around them. This connection, both of them grappling with past pains, spurred an intensity in her heart. Could he really understand? As they exchanged words amidst the echoes of laughter, Sarah felt the ground beneath her shift, unveiling hidden truths. Just as her heart began to chase after this glimmer of hope, a revelation weighed heavier than all her fears. Jack held a secret that bound him to her father's legacy. Standing at the edge of discovery, Sarah faced a tumultuous storm of questions. Was Jack here to heal her fractured past, or merely to expose deeper wounds? The air crackled with unspoken promises as their eyes locked, both knowing they would have to navigate an intertwined destiny together. As the laughter faded into the background, Sarah's heartbeat amplified in her ears. The air between them felt electric, charged with a silent understanding and a looming storm of uncertainty. Jack knelt to scoop up the last piece of shattered glass, and for a fleeting moment, their hands brushed together, a casual encounter that both startled and ignited something deep within her. "Thanks for that," she managed to say, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask. "I guess I wasn't having the best day." Jack met her gaze, and she caught a glimpse of something flickering in his eyes, pity or maybe shared pain. "We all have our days, don't we?" he replied gently. What's a little chaos if we can find the calm afterwards? His words resonated, but the thought of her past hung over her like a dark cloud. Images of her estranged father loomed, reminding her of the questions aching for answers. She forced herself to look away, unwilling to expose her vulnerability, even to this man who seemed to see deeper than most. "Can I get you a coffee?" she asked, pivoting back to the safety of her role. "Only if it comes with that famous pie," Jack replied with a sly grin, the lightness in his tone igniting a warmth in her chest. They fell into easy banter, the others in the diner a mere backdrop to the conversation flowing between them. With every laugh and shared moment, Sarah felt walls begin to crumble. Still, the unresolved tension gnawed at her. As Sarah slid the slice of pie onto a plate, a commotion at the diner's entrance caught her attention. A group of veterans, warmly greeted by Clara, the diner's owner, filled the room with a sense of camaraderie. For a moment, the anxiety that had been building within her faded. Here was community, friends gathered together, sharing stories and meals, healing together. But as the group settled at a table, one face drew her in: the elderly man who had once given her father a chance, the man who had recounted tales of her father with reverence. Henry's presence made her heart race. What if he had answers? "Are you okay?" Jack's voice pulled her back from her thoughts. "Yeah, just," she hesitated. "That's Henry. He worked with my dad years ago." Jack's frown deepened with concern. "You should talk to him. Maybe he has something for you about your father." Taking a deep breath, Sarah weighed his suggestion. The knot in her stomach twisted tighter, a battle between courage and fear. Could she face the truth, or was she destined to remain tangled in her past? "I think I will," she finally conceded. "But what if it's not what I expect?" "Sometimes, not knowing is scarier than the truth itself," he said softly, his expression earnest. She felt the weight of his words, stirring something within. The prospect of confronting her past was frightening, and yet, it held the promise of liberation. "Maybe you're right," she replied, feeling empowered yet hesitant. "Maybe it's time I find out." As the diner buzzed around them, Sarah looked back towards Henry. He sat, a warm smile spreading across his face as he chatted with fellow veterans, unaware of the storm brewing in her heart. She felt Jack's supportive presence beside her, a tether of grounding in the uncertainty spinning around them. "I'll be right back," she told Jack, edging her way towards Henry, her heart pounding louder with each step. The realization settled within her like a stone: whatever answers lay ahead, they would lead her closer to the truth. Just as she stood before Henry, ready to speak, she sensed a weighty pause in the air, the kind that often precedes a revelation. What had she been holding back all this time? Was she truly prepared for the answers about her father's legacy? The moment hung there, poised on the edge of discovery, waiting for her to take that leap. What she didn't expect, she realized as she looked into Henry's eyes, was that the answers might lead her to Jack in ways she could never imagine. Henry's eyes flickered with recognition as Sarah stepped closer, his expression shifting from casual warmth to something more profound. "Sarah," he murmured, the name dripping with memories and years gone by. "Hi, Mr. Coleman," she said, her voice wavering. I wanted to talk to you about my dad." Even saying the word sent a chill down her spine, the past rushing back like a tidal wave. He gestured to the empty chair across from him, inviting her to sit. "I've thought about him often. He was a good man. A brave man." A lump formed in her throat. She could see the sadness in his eyes and it mirrored the ache in her heart. "I'm trying to understand what happened. Why he's not in my life anymore." Henry sighed, the weight of years pressed on him like an unfolding story rich with sorrow. "Your father and I went through a lot together. It was tough back then after the war. He had demons, Sarah, demons he never wanted you to see." Her pulse quickened at the word demons. Did he love me? Was I not enough for him to stay? "Oh, Sarah," he began, his expression softening. "He loved you more than anything. But he felt unworthy of that love. He thought he was protecting you by staying away. Her heart twisted painfully in her chest, each breath a reminder of the empty moments she had spent longing for a father who might never come back. But that doesn't make sense, she replied, emotions bubbling to the surface. How can love keep someone away? Sometimes, the hardest love is the one that protects. He believed he could ruin your life by being in it, Henry said, each word hanging heavy in the air. Feeling the sting of tears, Sarah clenched her fists. What did he do? What really happened? Her voice trembled as she demanded the truth. She needed to know. Henry looked down, gathering his thoughts. He got into trouble. The kind that haunts you. I wanted to help him, but what? She pressed, leaning forward. She felt Jack's eyes on her, his silent support weaving through the conversation, reminding her that she wasn't alone. There were things he couldn't face. He thought it would hurt you more to know how broken he was, Henry said, finally meeting her gaze with intensity. And Sarah, it broke him to think he came to hurt you. A deafening silence settled between them, separate from the chatter of the diner. The truth hit her, her father had chosen pain instead of the love they could have shared. But he is alive, right? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. Is there a chance I can talk to him? Can I? Sarah? Henry hesitated, words sloshing in his mind. He is not who you remember anymore. The war left him a different man. Hope flickered inside her like a candle refusing to bow to the wind. I need to know, Henry. I need to understand him and maybe myself. At that moment, she caught Jack's reflection in the diner window, his eyes dark with concern, yet sparkling with an encouragement that offered her strength. She realized she was teetering on the edge of an abyss, either plunge into the unknown or pull back, but the temptation to leap was growing stronger. Will you help me find him? She asked Henry, feeling the gravity of her question. His face hardened but softened again quickly. I can take you to him, but I can't promise how he'll react when he sees you. Sarah's heart raced as she took a deep breath. There was no turning back now. Wherever this path led, she was ready to face it, even if it meant confronting the truth about the man who had shaped her existence from afar. Okay, she said, determination lighting her voice. Let us do it. I need to know. As Henry nodded, she felt the ground shift beneath her. Her journey was just beginning, and she had no idea where it would lead, but she sensed Jack's supportive presence behind her, a steady anchor amid the chaos. Just before they stood to leave, she felt the weight of his hand on her shoulder and the warmth it offered. Would he stand beside her while she navigated this tangled web of secrets, or would the truth push them apart? The diner buzzed with life, the chatter like a distant echo. Each step felt monumental, as if she was being propelled forward into a new destiny. Outside, the sky was darkening, the day slipping away, much like the innocence she had clung to for too long. What awaited her on this perilous journey? Would she find a father drowning in despair or a man finally ready to embrace the daughter he had longed to love? The drive to Henry's place felt endless, time swirling around them like shadows under the dimming evening sky. Sarah stared out the window, the scenery blurring into streaks of dark and light. Each passing streetlight flickered like a reminder of the uncertainties ahead. Jack sat beside her, his presence warm and reassuring, though she could sense the tension in his posture as he gripped the edge of his seat. Do you think he'll be angry? Sarah asked, her fingers fidgeting with her necklace, the only anchor connecting her to a past she almost couldn't remember. He might surprise you, Jack replied, his eyes steady on the road. People can change, especially when they've had a lot of time to think. She wished she could share his optimism. The thought of confronting her father filled her with a mix of dread and hope. What if he doesn't want to see me? What if he doesn't care? Then you'll know, and that's important too. You deserve answers, he replied softly, glancing over to meet her gaze briefly before returning his attention to the road. They made the final turn onto a gravel pathway that wound through the trees, the crunch of stones beneath the tires breaking the silence. Henry had explained where to find him, but she couldn't shake the feeling that the man they were about to meet was both a stranger and a ghost from her childhood. As they pulled into the driveway, the modest cabin loomed ahead. The exterior was unpainted, weathered, and had a certain charm to it that reminded her of stories told in hushed tones at bedtime. Was a hint of laughter and love, but also a shadow of neglect that made her heart ache. "Ready?" Jack turned to her, his expression full of encouragement. "Ready as I'll ever be," she whispered, her heart pounding. They stepped out of the car, the chill of the evening air wrapping around them like an unwelcome blanket. Henry was already at the door, his lined face betraying nothing but quiet strength. He opened it wide, revealing a dimly lit space filled with shadows and remnants of a life once lived. "Come in," he said, his voice soft, as if afraid to disturb the silence of the home. As they entered, the smell of old wood and forgotten memories engulfed her. "Dad?" Sarah called out, her voice echoing through the small hallway. There was a moment of stillness, then she heard a sound of faint shuffle, then a door creaked open. A figure stepped into view, and her breath hitched. "Who is there?" The voice was raspy, worn down by time and heartache. It was him. Her father. The facade of the man she had idolized in her mind faded as she took in the lines etched deep across his face, the weariness that seemed to weigh him down. He looked like a shadow of the person she'd imagined, and yet, he was somehow real. "Dad," she began, but the words stuck in her throat like a stone. His eyes widened, a flicker of recognition crossing his features. "Sarah." The sound of her name on his lips felt foreign and familiar all at once. For a moment, they stood there, suspended in time, the air thick with unspoken words and the weight of 1,000 lost moments. "Henry brought me," she managed to say, every word laced with the tremors of the moment. Her father's expression shifted from confusion to something unreadable. Was it regret? Longing? She couldn't tell, but the thought of him backing away swallowed her whole. "Why are you here?" he finally asked, each word feeling like a challenge wrapped in layers of time. "I want to understand," she replied, her voice quavering. "I want to know why you left." The silence that followed was deafening. The truth, the long-awaited confrontation, hung between them like an unwelcome guest. "Henry," her father said, turning to the older man, eyes searching for answers in his stead. "Why did you bring her here?" "Because she deserves to know you," Henry answered resolutely. But as Sarah watched her father's face shift from confusion to something more shadowed, she kept wondering, would he be ready to face the past? Was he willing to embrace the daughter he had let go, or would it all come crashing down once more, leaving her standing amidst the ruins? Just then, the tension cracked with a violent force, something raw and real igniting in the air. What would he reveal next? Could she hold on to hope amidst the chaos of the moment? The air felt electric, charged with unsaid emotions as Sarah tried to decipher her father's expression. The tension hung thick, wrapping around them like a suffocating fog. Was it relief she saw? Guilt? Or perhaps both? Jack stepped closer to Sarah, his presence a steady anchor beside her. "Dad, please," she urged, her voice trembling. "I just want to talk." He blinked slowly, as if waking from a long slumber, and she saw his shoulders drop a fraction. "Talk." His voice was hoarse, as if he hadn't used it in years. "Yes. About everything." Her father's gaze bored into the floorboards, and she wondered if the memories beneath them drowned him. Henry shifted uneasily in the background, unsure of his role in this emotional turmoil. "Why now?" he asked, a layer of defensiveness creeping in. "You were fine without me." "Fine. I don't know if that's true," Sarah admitted, her frustration bubbling beneath the surface. "Maybe I spent years pretending, but I'm not fine anymore. I need to know why you chose to leave us." Each word sliced through the air, sharper than she intended. He flinched, and for a fraction of a second, she thought she saw vulnerability dance across his features. "You think I didn't care?" His voice rose slightly, indignation mixing with pain. I left because I thought it was best for you and your mother. You wouldn't have wanted me around. The accusation stung. She felt a mix of anger and sorrow weld together in her chest. How would I know? You just left. No explanations, no goodbyes. The tears threatened to spill over, but she held them back. A deep sigh escaped him, and he glanced over at Henry. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought staying away would help. But it seems I only made it worse. Silence settled around them, heavy and thick, as each person wrestled with the weight of unspoken truths. Sarah could see the cracks forming in her father's armor, yet she fought against her own instinct to step back and protect herself. Do you regret it? She asked softly, feeling the fragile thread of connection drop between them. Every day, he finally admitted, his voice quaking. I thought I'd made the right choice, but I was wrong. The sincerity in his admission broke something inside her. The yearning for their lost years, the conversations they'd never have it washed over her like a wave of emotion. I just wanted a dad. Her voice trailed off, the heaviness settling deeper. Sarah, he started, but she shook her head. Can you even be that dad now? She questioned, the rawness in her voice a reminder of the chasm between them. A shadow passed over his face, and for a moment, she saw the man her memories had created, the father made from thin air and endless dreams. But here stood a stranger, haunted and broken. I don't know what I can offer you, but I want to try. Before she could respond, heavy footsteps echoed from the kitchen, drawing their attention. A woman entered, her face flushed from the effort, holding a steaming cup of coffee in one hand. It was an unexpected interruption, but it marked a shift in the atmosphere. Is everything okay? She asked, eyes darting from Sarah to the man she recognized but hardly knew. Just catching up, Sarah's father replied, his voice steadier now. The woman looked at Sarah, her face softened with concern. I'm sorry if I'm intruding. No, Sarah said quickly, feeling a wave of sympathy towards this stranger who seemed caught in the middle of an emotional storm. We were just talking. Talking about family? The woman asked, a genuine warmth radiating from her. It's tough, isn't it? Sarah blinked, and for the first time that evening, a flicker of hope glimmered amidst the chaos. Just then, her father turned towards her and the stranger, determination glazing over his features. Maybe it's time for some honesty. His words hung in the air, charged with the promise of revelation. What truths lay buried in the shadows, waiting for the light of day? Would this be their moment to rebuild, or would the walls continue to rise? The woman smiled warmly, seemingly unfazed by the emotional whirlwind swirling in the room. I'm Lisa, she said, stepping forward as if to bridge the chasm that had formed. I've lived here a while, and I know a thing or two about family struggles. Family struggles? Sarah echoed, her heart racing. The familiarity of that phrase struck a chord, resonating deeply. What do you mean? Lisa took a moment, glancing briefly at Sarah's father, who stood beside her like a statue, expression unreadable. We all have our battles, she continued softly. I've seen marriages fall apart and children searching for their roots. What matters is that you're here now. Sarah glanced at her father, searching for the understanding in his eyes, but he looked away, trapped in his own web of regrets. She felt a pang of frustration but also a glimmer of curiosity. What did this woman know that could possibly help? Sometimes, it's easier to run from the hard stuff, Lisa added, her gaze unwavering. But facing it can be healing. The sincerity in her voice melted some of the ice in the room. Did you have to face it? Sarah asked, leaning in. She felt an unspoken camaraderie forming with this stranger who had walked through the fire herself. Lisa nodded, a flicker of pain crossing her features. It took time. I spent years thinking that the separation was better for my kids. It wasn't until they were older that I realized they needed my presence more than my absence. Do you ever regret it? Sarah asked, increasingly drawn into the conversation. Every single day, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But I also learned something important. Regret keeps us stuck, and healing requires us to move forward together, flaws and all. As Lisa's words lingered in the air, Sarah could feel her heart racing, a soft thud against her ribs. It was an intense yet liberating realization. The possibility of progress rustled in the corners of her mind. But would her father always be an echo of their history rather than a part of her future? Listen, I know this is complicated, Lisa said gently, breaking her reverie. But openness is usually the first step to healing. Maybe you both need to just talk. Is that really enough? Sarah scoffed, though a part of her ached for it to be true. It can be if you allow it, Lisa replied firmly. Sometimes we need to let go before moving forward. Jack shifted beside Sarah, the weight of his presence still a comforting anchor. I want to do this, he said quietly, eyes finally meeting Sarah's. I have a lot to answer for. I'd like to spend time with you, get to know you, if you'll let me. The hesitation hung between them, his sincerity battling against the shadow of doubt. Can honesty fix all the years we lost? Sarah whispered, her voice breaking. Honesty can start to, he replied, vulnerability seeping into his tone. A flicker of acknowledgement passed in her father's eyes. They were both standing on the edge, gripping the past but yearning for a chance at the future. Before Sarah could respond, Lisa stepped back, her kindness radiating like a warm embrace. I'll give you some space, she said, her gentle smile reassuring. But remember, it's all about making the choice to let each other back in. Her words echoed in Sarah's heart, fueling her uncertainty. They both stood there, poised between the comfort of their hurts and the possibility of mending the broken pieces. Would they take that step forward, or remain frozen in what had been? And as silence fell once more, Sarah knew the moment hung precariously, a balance teetering between hope and doubt. What would this new honesty bring? Would it tear them apart, or draw them closer than they ever imagined? The atmosphere felt electric, heavy with unspoken words. Sarah's eyes flickered to her father. Jack was there, but he felt a million miles away. The space he occupied was filled with layers of guilt, shame, and longing, and she didn't know how to reach him. Dad, it's been a long time, she finally managed, the words heavier than a stone in her throat. Jack shifted again, as if fighting against an unseen tide of emotion. It has. Too long, he admitted, his voice cracking slightly. That admission felt like a lifeline thrown out in stormy waters. What happened to us? Sarah questioned, the tremor in her voice betraying the steadiness she fought to project. How did we get here? He rubbed a hand over his face, a sign of weariness. Life happened, I guess. I was stupid. I was lost, and instead of finding a way back to you, I walked away. Do you realize how much you hurt me? Sarah could feel the heat of unshed tears, threatening to spill forth. I do. I hate myself for it, Jack said, his voice raw. But standing here, in this moment, I want to make it right. I want to fix this. I want to be your dad again. And what if I don't know how to let you in? She whispered, fear creeping in. She wanted to believe him, but the scars of their shared past loomed like shadows. It's okay. We'll take it slow. Just, give me a chance, he replied, his eyes earnest. Tell me what you need. I want to understand what you went through. For a moment, their eyes locked, the vulnerability hanging between them like a bridge, fragile but promising. Sarah felt warmth spread through her chest, a mix of hope and fear. Could they really rebuild? Or were they standing on a shaky line between nostalgia and reality? Why don't we start with something simple? Lisa interjected, her presence warm and grounding. How about grabbing a coffee together? It's easy to open up over a cup of something warm. Jack nodded, grateful for Lisa's intervention. I'd like that. Coffee, just us, no pressure. Just talking. Sarah hesitated, but the sincerity in his gaze urged her on. Okay. Coffee. But she paused, her heart racing. "We need to talk about everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly." "Everything," Jack echoed, his expression resolute. As they stepped into a nearby cafe, the aroma of roasted coffee beans enveloped them like a comforting hug. The buzz of conversation provided a backdrop that felt almost surreal. Sitting across from each other at a small table, Sarah fidgeted with her napkin. "So, what do we even talk about?" she wondered aloud, her voice small. "Let's start with the bad, then," Jack suggested, his eyes steady. "I want to hear the truth. I need to own up to my mistakes." Sarah took a deep breath. "Do you remember the last time we were together? The last argument? I thought you hated me." The pain in her words cut through the air, and Jack winced, as if struck. "I never hated you. I didn't know how to be a father anymore. I was scared. And scared people do stupid things. No more stupid things. Just honesty, okay?" she replied, feeling the tightness in her chest ease a little. Maybe this was what they needed, a safe space to lay out their vulnerabilities. "Okay," he said, and there was a flickering hope in his eyes. "Let us talk." As they began to peel back the layers of the past, Sarah felt a fragile connection form between them, one she hadn't thought possible. But uncertainty tugged at her heart, a question hovered, lingering like a thick fog: would this openness bring them closer or widen the rift further? And as she spoke, the sounds of the cafe faded into the background, leaving just the two of them suspended in their moment of raw honesty. What truth lay buried beneath the surface, waiting to emerge? Would they both be ready for it? Jack leaned forward, his brow furrowed, searching Sarah's face for guidance. "What do you want me to know? Really know?" Sarah's heart raced. This was at the moment she had desperately needed since the day he walked away. "I want you to know that when you left, it felt like my world crumbled. I was just a kid, and I thought if my own dad didn't want me, who would?" Tears filled Jack's eyes as he listened, the weight of her words crashing over him like a wave. "I'm sorry, Sarah. I never wanted to make you feel that way. I was drowning in my own problems. I thought leaving would spare you the pain, but it only made it worse." "You thought leaving was better?" Her voice cracked, hot anger bubbling beneath the surface. "I would have rather fought through it with you than live with the knowledge that you just abandoned me. Do you truly believe I didn't fight for you?" Jack asked, his tone urgent. "I fought every day with myself. But I was weak. I thought I could fix my life without dragging you into my mess." Sarah blinked hard, feeling the heat of her anger simmer down. "It's not just that. I needed you to be their graduations, birthdays, just when life got tough. I felt isolated, like I was carrying a weight alone." Jack's hands trembled as he clutched his coffee cup. "I never realized the impact of my choices. I thought distancing myself would be better for you, but I see now it was selfish." A weird mix of anger and sadness surged through Sarah. She wanted to scream, to unleash years of pent-up pain. But somewhere, tucked in the back of her heart, there was a flicker of forgiveness waiting to come to life. "How can I trust you again?" she whispered, her eyes scanning his, searching for sincerity. "What's changed?" "I'm working on myself," he confessed, his voice breaking. "I sought help. I have to be better, not just for you but for myself too. I want to learn how to care for my daughter. I want to earn that trust back." Taking a steady breath, Sarah felt a heaviness lift, a small yet significant step forward. "Can you promise you'll be consistent? That this isn't just a fleeting moment?" "Promise," Jack said firmly. "I won't back down this time. I'll show you. It won't be easy, but I'm here for the long haul." As their conversation continued, tentative laughter occasionally broke through the heavy air. They shared memories, both good and painful, noticing the bittersweet flavors of their shared past. The coffee cups emptied, but their hearts were slowly filling with something new: hope. Amidst the laughter and stories, Sarah caught a glimpse of the father she once knew. It felt fragile but somehow real. But just as the atmosphere lightened, her phone buzzed on the table, breaking the moment. It was a text from Lisa, telling Sarah to check her email urgently. Curious yet concerned, she glanced at Jack, who was in a different zone, still reminiscing about their childhood trips together. "Hey, give me a second," she said, pulling out her phone. But as she read the email, her heart sank. It was about a family emergency, a reason she'd have to leave the cafe in a hurry. "Is everything all right?" Jack asked, noticing her expression change. "I think I need to go," Sarah replied, panic creeping into her voice. "Something else. I have to deal with something." Jack's face fell, but there was understanding in his eyes. "Can we talk later? Finish this?" "Yeah," she said quickly, her heart racing. "I'd like that." As she stood up, the promise of their tentative steps toward healing felt more precarious now. What awaited on the other side of the email weighed on her mind, just as their fragile reconnection sparked a flicker of hope. As she rushed out of the cafe, her thoughts swirled. Would what she had learned today withstand the storm brewing on the horizon? She couldn't shake the feeling that just as they were starting to rebuild, something darker was about to pull her back into turmoil. What would it mean for their relationship if the past came crashing in again? Sarah hurried down the street, her thoughts racing faster than her legs could carry her. She could still feel Jack's gaze on her back, filled with a mix of hope and sadness. The cafe faded behind her, replaced with bright lights and the noise of the city trying to drown out her worry. As she stepped onto the bustling sidewalk, her phone buzzed again. It was another message from Lisa, urging her to call urgently. Sarah's stomach knotted. She hadn't spoken to her sister in days, but if Lisa was reaching out, it had to be important. With a sigh, she stopped at a corner and called, her heart thumping in her chest. "Hey, Sarah." Lisa answered, a hint of panic in her voice. "What is going on?" "I got your email. Is everything okay?" "Mom's in the hospital," Lisa said quickly. "She was having severe chest pain. They're running tests, but you need to get here." The world around Sarah blurred, the voices of passers-by distantly echoing in the background. Her mom, her rock, her support. The grounding force who had always been there, even when Jack wasn't. "I'm coming," she said, the words choking up her throat. "Drive safe." "I'll keep you updated," Lisa replied. As she hung up, her hands trembled. This was the worst time for a family emergency, right when she had started to finally confront her past with Jack. Would he understand if she needed time? Or would those unhealed wounds from their history resurface, causing even more hurt? She ran to her car, fumbling with her keys, her mind swirling in a chaotic mix of memories and emotions. Part of her was angry that the universe seemed to conspire against her. Just as she took one step towards healing, another crisis pulled her back. Why couldn't anything in her life be easy? Taking a deep breath, she gripped the steering wheel, trying to steady the whirlwind of thoughts. Life had never been easy, though, had it? They always say that pain shapes us, but what about the relationships that could heal if given the chance? Could Jack really be committed to her this time? Driving through the city, the familiar streets felt foreign. Every red light felt like a pause on her life, every turn seemed to lead her further away from the fragile bond she was beginning to forge with Jack. She mentally replayed their conversation, wishing she could grab those words and hold on tight, but the fear of losing him again loomed heavy. As she sped towards the hospital, a small flicker of anger at Jack re-emerged. Shouldn't he have been there when it mattered most? Would he even step up if things got tough again? Pulling into the hospital parking lot, Sarah wrestled with her emotions. She needed Jack, but she also needed her family. There was a part of her that craved the connection they were trying to build, even if it terrified her. When she stepped into the hospital lobby, the sterile smell mingled with anxiety and uncertainty. Lisa was pacing, eyes wide, and Sarah felt her chest tighten further. No matter what, she had to be there for her mother, even if it meant putting everything with Jack on hold for now. But just as she reached out to her sister, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a picture from Jack, a simple snapshot of a younger Sarah holding a corndog at the state fair. She wore the biggest grin. The text read, "I'm here for you, no matter what." Sarah's heart fluttered, and just when she thought she had shut the door on Jack, the universe nudged her again. Could they really rebuild amidst all this chaos? Did she even want to let him back in at the risk of getting hurt again? Uncertainty settled into the pit of her stomach as she faced her sister. What if I can't handle this? And with that, another question hung heavy in the air. How do you face your past while trying to save your present? As Sarah stood at the hospital lobby, anxiety surged through her veins. The sterile smell of antiseptic filled her nose, but it did little to distract her from the weight of uncertainty pressing down. Lisa was pacing, her hands nervously twisting a hair tie, the worry etched deep into her brow. Have they said anything? Sarah asked, her voice strained, each word reaching for reassurance amidst the whirlwind of emotions clashing inside her. No. Just waiting for the doctors, Lisa responded, her voice trembling. But she looked scared, Sarah. I don't know what to do if something is really wrong. Sarah's heart ached at the sight of her sister. This was their mother, the steady anchor for them both navigating the rough seas of life. Memories flashed through her mind, their mom's hugs that made everything right and her laughter echoing through their home. Was that all they had left? The thought nearly knocked the wind out of her. Just then, her phone buzzed again. Jack. A photo of them from years ago, grinning with gooey ice cream dripping down their hands. I'm here for you, no matter what. His words danced in her heart like a whispered promise. The feelings she had tried to stifle surged back, bubbling to the surface. The flicker of hope ignited a warmth that nestled alongside the cold grip of fear swirling with unanswered questions. Hey, Lisa interrupted Sarah's thoughts, eyes darting toward her sister's phone. Is that him? Sarah bit her lip, contemplating her response. Should she share everything? Or keep the walls built tight around the raw space he now occupied in her heart? Yeah, it's Jack, she replied cautiously, her stomach twisting into knots. He cares about you, Lisa said, her tone softening. You deserve the chance to explore that, especially now. This could be a turning point for you both. A ticking clock echoed in the background, emphasizing the urgency of the moment. I know, but what if it all falls apart again? Sarah confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. Strength is facing the unknown, Lisa said firmly, her confidence reassuring. You have to believe it's worth the risk. Life's messy. Families are messy. But you're trying, and that's what defines you. In that moment, something shifted within Sarah. The anger and confusion melted away, replaced by the understanding that life rarely came neatly wrapped with ribbons and bows. She was nurturing her past with Jack, letting it intertwine with her present, bit by painful bit. Just as Sarah opened her mouth to respond, a doctor approached them, the layers of authority signaling urgency. Are you ladies' family? He asked, his voice steady yet gentle. Yes, Sarah said, her voice cracking but fortified by determination. What is going on with my mom? Your mother's condition is stable, he began. Relief washed over them, but his serious expression remained. We're running more tests to understand the cause of her symptoms. Can we see her? Lisa pressed, hope creeping into her voice. Yes, but only for a few minutes, the doctor replied. She needs her rest. As they made their way down the sterile white hallway, Sarah felt both fear and gratitude swirl within. Each step was heavy, but at the same time, she felt an undercurrent rippling through her, a sense of seeking closure not just with her mother, but also with Jack. Standing at her mother's bedside, the sight of her sleeping figure pulled at Sarah's heart. It was a moment suspended in time, yet the swirling thoughts of her uncertain relationship with Jack flooded her mind anew. Mom, I'm here, Sarah whispered as she reached out, taking her mother's hand, grasping the warmth as if it would ground her amidst the uncertainty enveloping her life. As Sarah squeezed, her mother's eyes flickered open, bewildered yet filled with love. "Sweetheart." Her mother's voice was raspy, a soft melody amid the chaos. "I'm here," Sarah reassured her, feelings of vulnerability crashing in waves. "We're going to get through this." Her mother smiled faintly, the corners of her mouth turning up. "Always together, right?" "Always," Sarah promised, a bittersweet smile of her own emerging. In that moment, Sarah felt the heaviness of the world lift, at least a little. Behind the softness of the moment, a realization blossomed within Sarah. They had shared this bond forged in family love, pain, and reconciliation. She could feel her mother's warmth intertwining with the possibility of rebuilding her relationship with Jack, trusting that the journey wouldn't be easy, but it would be real. As time melted away at the hospital, Sarah reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. There was Jack's text again with a snapshot of their past, but this time, she no longer hesitated. With deliberate fingers, she typed, "Let us talk about everything." A sense of fierce determination surged within her. This was not just about confronting the past, this was about embracing a future that could be shaped by honesty and love. Just as she pressed send, the hospital air felt charged with possibilities. Whatever came next, healing, heartache, or hope, she was ready to face it all. Time stood still as she gazed between the two pivotal figures in her life, her mother and her father. She took a deep breath, her heart beating with renewed strength. And just like that, Sarah felt that the adventure of new beginnings lay before her. Was she terrified? Absolutely. But with every step they all took together, healing would reign over hurt, and love would find a way to reconnect their fractured lives. Family, after all, was the heart's greatest adventure. Amid the uncertainty, she saw the flicker of love that began to weave itself through their story, a tale where hope would light the way forward. Now's the time to connect deeper. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss our next exclusive stories packed with heart. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm you need to show your support. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending, it matters. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Be the true fan who understands the power of connection.